Hello and happy Friday, everybody. Here's what's coming up tonight on Now. Senator Susan Collins and Ivanka Trump sharing a stage in Maine. We'll tell you all about that.
Plus, tomorrow is Veterans Day, but we're talking about a pretty serious topic, the suicide rate in veterans. It's shockingly higher in Maine than the nationwide average.
And an exclusive interview as I got to sit down with Santa and Mrs. Claus because they're coming to Maine early. Kind of a big deal.
Oh, by the way, this is News Center now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to News Center Now. I'm Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Amanda Hill. It has been an ongoing battle between members of the same party, Maine Senator Susan Collins and President Donald Trump.
From the very time she announced that she would not vote for him to her multiple votes against his cabinet appointees and health care proposals, it has been a rocky ride.
But it appeared the senator was getting cozier with at least one member of the Trump family today, right here in Maine. News Center's Christina Rex has the story.
It's such a great pleasure to welcome Ivanka Trump to the great state of Maine.
Speaking in Biddeford about tax reform, Senator Collins and first daughter Ivanka Trump had nothing but praise for one another.
Ivanka is an accomplished businesswoman.
We have great champions like Senator Collins.
A devoted mother of 3.
Collins' chief of staff told News Center that the two have spent time getting to know each other recently.
And we've had many good discussions. And I have found her to be such a passionate advocate for working families, for women, for children.
So could this mean Senator Collins is extending the olive branch, gearing up to work with President Trump? Boothbay resident Don Gilbert hopes so.
And I was so happy. It sounds like Susan, our senator, is going to work with the president on this big tax reform, and I'm happy to see that. And I absolutely loved everything. As a matter of fact, I was kind of surprised today.
Thank you so much for the good work that you did there.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for coming to Maine.
In Biddeford, Christina Rex, News Center Now.
Of course, we weren't able to ask the senator herself because she was not talking to the media today.
The audience for this was invite only, with some legislators, many local business owners attending. We'll have much more on the tax reform that they discussed coming up tonight on News Center at 5:30.
All right, strong wind gusts knocked over trees and utility poles that were barely hanging on after last week's powerful windstorm. This is video from Greene sent to us by a viewer. He says the downed trees caught fire once they drove off. Pretty crazy.
And a resident of Bailey Island says the wind knocked down the power lines near the bridge. The islands were some of the hardest hit during last week's wind storm.
Right now, those outage numbers are climbing once again. Utility companies say the crews are out working, but if the winds get too strong, the bucket trucks will have to wait out the weather for safety reasons, of course.
And while some people are in the dark again because of wind, others are celebrating their first snow of the season. This video comes to us, keep it down over there, from a viewer on Bryant Pond. A few people sent us snow pictures and videos. Please keep those pictures and videos coming.
Because you know who gets really happy watching those videos? Jess Conley is in for Keith tonight.
Yeah, there was some snow last night, guys. It has cleared out, but send those pictures, right? It's pretty fun for us. Skies have mostly cleared out. We will have clear skies tonight, and that's going to let the temperature drop quite a bit. Look at the temperature change from this same time yesterday to today, about a 15 to 20 degree difference in most spots. If you thought it felt colder today out there, you were right. Not only cooler temperatures, but also that wind. Current temperature right now 25 in Portland, it's 23 in Lewiston, 18 in Hartford, Maine. It's 25 now in Otis, Bangor, you're at 24 degrees. Millinocket down to 21 in Greenville, chilly, 15 degrees. We are also dealing with the wind. This is sustained wind at around 10 to 20 miles an hour, but look at the gusts. Even worse, still gusting up to 30 miles an hour. The winds have died down some. We've had peak wind gusts today up around 45 miles an hour, but we will still see breezing conditions overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. Good news is that the wind advisory should be dropped at 8 o'clock. Not so good news is that it's going to cool off even more tonight. Wind chills could be down in the single digits. Guys, make sure you're bundling up.
Yikes. All right, thanks, Jess. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, but today was the observed holiday, which meant a lot of people had the day off. Now, Veterans Day is a time, of course, to thank all of those who have served.
It's also a time, though, to reaffirm the nation's commitment to helping those who return from war.
As many of us know, service members can have a hard time readjusting to civilian life, and as a recent study shows, means veterans are really struggling.
Yeah, the latest numbers, which are from 2014, say that the Maine veteran suicide rate per 100,000 people is about 10% higher than the national veteran suicide rate. Tennyson Coleman spoke to the mother of a veteran who took his own life back in 2014. It's her mission to help combat this issue.
Linda LaJoy's son, Dustin Hadfield, was a senior airman in the Air Force, spending time in Maryland, Alaska, and a war-torn Afghanistan. When he returned home, his mother says he was like a different person.
There was one night he had, I don't know, he had had a few too many beers, I believe, and you know, he just had this, I mean, he just became angry for no reason.
LaJoy says her son seemed depressed and wondered if his time in the service triggered the change in his mood.
I would ask him and he would either say, you won't get it, you won't understand, or you don't want to.
Her relationship with her son took a turn for the worst. LaJoy says an argument in 2013 would be their last face-to-face interaction.
He slammed the door and I never saw him again.
Not knowing what would happen a year and a half later.
In December 2014, he took his life.
According to the Department of Veteran Affairs, 20 veterans die by suicide every single day in the U.S. And in Maine, the rate of veteran suicide is higher than the national rate of veteran suicide.
I want veterans to know that they're worthy.
This year, LaJoy started the Silhouette Project to raise awareness about this problem. She displays silhouette cutouts of soldiers all over the state, representing the number of veterans who die by suicide a day nationwide. Another organization aimed at helping struggling veterans is the Maine Veterans Project. Sean Goodwin is the founder and a veteran himself. He also sits on Congressman Poliquin's newly created Veterans Advisory Panel, which met for the first time last month.
The problem is we're just scratching the surface of things that are available and what's not working and what is. I think the issues that this Veterans Advisory Panel are tackling go fathoms deeper to the actual source of the problem.
A statement to News Center from Congressman Poliquin reads in part, quote, "I've pushed to make improvements to the critical veteran crisis line and have discussed the matter in depth with members of my Veteran Advisory Panel," end quote. Ultimately, LaJoy hopes her organization will empower Maine veterans.
But if you have somebody that you feel that is struggling, you know, talk with them, open up, talk to them. Because I think if I had had the conversation with Dustin, that maybe he would have been able to open up.
For more information about the Silhouette Project and the Maine Veterans Project, be sure to check this story out on our website and our mobile app.
And the day before Veterans Day is the birthday of the United States Marine Corps.
On this day, 242 years ago, the Continental Marines were charged with fighting from land and sea in Philadelphia.
Today, the Corps has about 194,000 active duty members across the world. Some of you shared happy birthday wishes today. Nanette posted this photo and said thank you for your service. Ruth says happy birthday to the brave men and women of the USMC Semper Fi. Senis says, "Hoorah to Marines past and present. America has been safe for the last 242 years because of your grit and determination. Special thanks for Dennis's father, who served in World War II and in Korea. My dad was a Marine. My father-in-law was a Marine. So it is. It runs deep in the family. So
yes, special thanks to all of you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, still to come.
Also going to be nice to get down to that nice warm climate in Portland. It's -2 outside right now and up here in the North Pole.
Santa Claus is coming to town this weekend for a very special occasion. We'll explain later on Now.
And so many people have come forward with stories of sexual assault and violence. Are we talking about these events in the right way? A live conversation coming up next.
Comedian Louis C.K. says the allegations of sexual misconduct against him are true. 5 women told the New York Times that C.K. touched himself inappropriately in front of them. Today, C.K. released a statement saying he wants to learn from his mistakes. Already, his new movie has been scrapped by executives, and Netflix announced they will not be streaming his new comedy special. Now, Louis C.K. is just the latest figure in Hollywood to be accused, but there are also a number of actors and public figures who have come forward as victims, and it seems there's a new accusation every day. Melanie Sachs is joining us now from the Sexual Assault Response Services of Southern Maine. Melanie, thank you so much for joining us. When public figures share their experiences of assault or harassment, does that help survivors gain the confidence they need to come forward?
It certainly can. What we found is that when folks see other people coming forward with allegations or sharing their stories and being brave enough to do so, that oftentimes can give confidence to survivors, again, whether it was of child sexual abuse or a more recent assault, that it does give hope and support to those who have also suffered something like that.
And with that stigma, I think that we talk about so much. When the abuser is somebody who is famous or rich or high profile, like the accusations against Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein, does that affect the survivor's experience at all?
I think with any sexual assault, oftentimes it's an exploitation of a power relationship, as we've talked about together many times. If you are a person who has been assaulted by somebody in a power position, which is most often is that exploitation of that power. So we're talking a local celebrity, politician, church official, school official, coach, it really doesn't matter if they're exploiting that power relationship, an employer, for example, then that is going to affect somebody adversely. Absolutely going to. And with the notoriety that comes with a celebrity, of course, there is scrutiny involved on a national level, but it feels just that way to a victim, even locally, around the scrutiny, the shame, the stigma. All of those are exactly the same.
And those might be reasons why a person might be hesitant to come forward?
Absolutely. If you look even of the people who you see, quote unquote, who are successful, who are coming forward stating that they have been assaulted, the recrimination, the questions about their own personal behavior, what they choose to maybe gain or not gain from coming forward, when really this is a personal decision around somebody's recovery. When you see the hashtag #MeToo, survivors aren't beholden to anybody to give their story. But what we've often find is they have told somebody in their lives about what's happened. And our job, your job, everybody's job is to support them with that process, whatever it means to them.
What do you think about the public discourse about this topic in general right now? Is it in a healthy place in your opinion? Is it helping? Is it hurting your cause?
What I'm hopeful for is that there are consequences to this behavior. That is the most hopeful thing I am seeing right now. Number one, that there are consequences to the behavior, whether it's happened right now or in years past, that there are consequences to harassing somebody, to whether it's verbally or physically, in any stage. It is not okay to do this to somebody. So I find that's very helpful. And number two is that there's resources such as Sexual Assault Response Services in Southern Maine. All across the state, there are resources for people as well as across the country. And I'm hopeful that survivors will access those resources.
All right, Melanie, thank you so much for taking some time to spend with us on this Friday afternoon. If you have more questions, chime in on our Facebook live stream right now. Lee and Amanda will send it back to you.
All right, thanks, Chris. Still to come on now, Facebook is working on a new way to protect victims of revenge porn. But to do it, you have to send Facebook sexually explicit photos. Katie Ortiz explains coming up on Social Stop.
And you might want to cuddle up by the wood stove this weekend. Snow Miser Conley with your 4 forecast coming up.
Okay, we try not to skip the holidays. With Thanksgiving coming, of course, Santa's a little bit busy in the North Pole, but, you know, he could take some time out of his day.
Well, and he's going to do that because he and Mrs. Claus are actually coming to Maine this weekend to spend some time with 9-year-old Jacob Thompson in what will likely be his last Christmas. The Clauses took time out of their schedules today to chat about their upcoming southern trip.
We got one guy right here that's probably going to be coming with us.
When Santa and Mrs. Claus heard about Jacob and his wish to have Christmas early this season, there was only one thing to say.
Let's go. That's why we're coming down. And I just wish there was something more that we could do, but you know, if we can bring him a nice big smile, I think that'll be the biggest thing we can bring him, I hope, and to his family too.
Jacob's story has spread worldwide, and that obviously includes the North Pole, because as we all know, Santa can see you when you're sleeping, and he knows when you're awake.
That's what it's all about, making children happy. We do this all over the United States, Children's Hospital and stuff like that. This isn't the only trip we make, and it's, you know, if you can make things a little better for a small child, that's it's a good feeling for us too.
But Jacob seems like a really special little boy. We haven't met him yet, but we've noticed there's always a smile on his face, and he seems to be very excited about the cards, about the gifts, about everything that people are doing for him. So it's going to be really kind of fun for us to go down and see him.
Since Santa will be making his trip to New England over a month ahead of schedule, he took the opportunity to spread some Christmas cheer to another group as well.
Go Pats!
I had no idea that Santa was such a huge Patriots fan. So since he'll be coming to New England this weekend to see Jacob, maybe you know, he'll pick up some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with Santa on your side, right?
I mean, they've been to the Super Bowl 7 times in the last 16 years, so
right.
Maybe Santa's a big reason why.
Yeah,
maybe that's what Tom Brady asks for every year, is to go to the Super Bowl.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well done, Tom. Well done.
Well, it's certainly feeling kind of like winter. Not kind of, it's feeling like winter, right? It's cold. It's been cold out there. Look at the current temperatures. Right now, we're at 25 in Portland, 24 currently in Bangor. We are definitely on the cool side, and it's only getting cooler. We started out around 30 today, but the temperatures just have been dropping throughout the entire day. These are the current wind gusts, around 25 to 30 miles an hour still. Peak wind gusts today were closer to 40 to 45 miles an hour. Let's take a look at some of those right now. Augusta gusted up to 45 today. Bar Harbor pretty close. Portland 43, and Bangor gusted to around 40. So again, unfortunately, those power outages are an issue. The good news is those winds really subsiding. The wind advisory only goes until 8 o'clock. But again, overnight tonight, breezy conditions, 25 to 30 mile an hour gusts still possible. Pretty much the same thing as we get into the day tomorrow as well. So current temperatures plus the wind making wind chills feel very, very chilly. Feels like 12 right now in Bangor. Feels like 15 in Portland, 6 in Augusta. Make sure if you're going out tonight, I know a lot of people heading to football games across the state tonight, dress warm, bring the scarves, the gloves, all that stuff, because it is going to be chilly out there. Overnight tonight, low temperatures dropping into the upper teens and lower 20s. I'm laughing because people are walking by with all their outdoor gear for the football games tonight. All right, let's go through the hour-by-hour forecast. So as we get into the day tomorrow, temperatures starting out chilly, upper teens and lower 20s. It is going to be a cold one. It pretty much stays cold all day too. The only good thing about tomorrow is that we will see some sunshine out there. High temperatures, though, make it into the low to mid 30s for tomorrow, and that's about it. Saturday night into Sunday, yet another cold night. We'll drop back down into the upper teens and lower 20s. Clouds move in for the day on Sunday. Temperatures, though, will be able to rebound a little bit more. Looks like we'll see temperatures top out in the upper 30s and lower 40s for Sunday. Let's talk about the winds too. Again, overnight tonight, you're still seeing those wind gusts 35 up to 40 miles an hour, but then as we get into tomorrow, they start to die down. It looks a little bit better, closer to 20 to 25 miles an hour, but all in all, it's going to be chilly out there right through most of the weekend. Seas 2 to 4 feet for tomorrow. There is a gale warning only until 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. Winds from the northwest starting out at 15 to 20 knots. Here's your extended forecast. Increasing clouds as we get into the day on Sunday. By Monday, things really settle down. It warms up at least a little bit more as we get into early next week. Then the rest of the week, not too busy. Really not a lot going on. We'll see some sun, some clouds. That's about it. We can calm down, but yeah, the next couple days.
Wow, we just dove right in.
I know. It went from what, 70s to 30s?
Yeah.
No,
Gee, thanks,
You're welcome.
Jess.
I do what I can.
All right, it's Friday, so I'm just going to throw this one out there. Would you send a naked picture of yourself to Facebook to prevent it from showing up on Facebook. Well, that's exactly what they're asking users in Australia to do as part of a pilot program. I'm Katie Ortiz with one of the more interesting social stops. So here's what's going on. The Australian government is teaming up with Facebook to prevent embarrassing pictures from being shared by people like an angry ex per se without that person's permission. The pilot works like this. The user sends the explicit photo to themselves on Messenger. Then they fill out an online form with Australia's eSafety Commission office, which then notifies Facebook. A specially trained representative from the community operations team reviews it and hashes the picture, creating a digital fingerprint of sorts. They store that fingerprint, which is unrecognizable to humans, and delete the original. So if someone tries to upload that picture, technology would recognize it and keep it from being posted. Now, Facebook says this is already kind of in existence. People already can report if their intimate pictures were shared without their consent, which Facebook removes and hashes to prevent it from being shared again. So this is just more of an emergency option. Now, Facebook says it's having discussions about expanding the program to the U.S., but it's unknown when that could be. Leah and Amanda?
All right, thanks, Katie.
Always something. All right, Cindy Williams here with what's coming up at 5:30.
I've got some great stories coming up tonight. He served in the Navy for decades, and now he is working to serve his brothers in arms. We're going to meet a Mainer who is a friend of veterans in their final days of life. It's a very emotional and touching story from Chris Rose for Veterans Day. And it's the regional finals for high school football. It's going to be a cold one out there, folks. The fifth quarter team is all bundled up and ready to go. We'll preview tonight's big games.
Extra layers for everyone tonight. Yep.
Thanks, Cindy. And still to come, a Mainer's incredible encounter with a moose. We'll be right back.
All right, the baseball season might be over, but Fenway Park, well, look at it. It's getting a makeover because it's a time lapse from Boston you're looking at. The legendary baseball field is being turned into a football field. Tomorrow, the University of Maine Black Bears will take on the UMass Minutemen, part of the Fenway Gridiron Series. After this weekend, the baseball field goes through another transformation as it will become a hurling pitch.
I don't even know what that means, but okay.
It's a sport, Amanda.
All right, whatever. More importantly, there may be a moose whisperer in Steuben. Brent Seavey met a creature out in the woods, and it looks like the moose wanted to be friends. Brent says, by the way, this is the second time he has met this moose. Pretty cool, but of course, be smart. Moose are wild animals, and of course, not safe to approach. But how sweet.
So I talked to Brent this afternoon, and he said this is the second time that same moose has come and visited him. So he's bonding with the moose.
They're buddies.
Yeah.
Looks like you're stuck with him.
Just going to say, right?
Just saying.
All right, News Center at 5:30. We'll leave you with the moose. Starts right now.